What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, and today I want to continue to talk about what I think is going to be the biggest storyline of the week for the green and white. And that is, again, the quarterback position, okay? I think we have heard some indications that Aaron Glenn may be starting to become a little bit more willing to make that switch that we have been talking about all season long here on Jets Latest. And by the way, thank you to everybody at Jets Latest helping me grow the channel, the likes, the views, the subscriptions. Tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. And if you want to become a Jets Latest insider, click on that join button down there at the bottom. You can get access to exclusive content, all sorts of other perks as we go throughout the 2025 season for the green and white. But I have been talking that the idea of the primary focus for this season for the Jets is to understand, do we have the front office and head coach in place in Muji and Glenn, and do we have the quarterback in place, right? So I think we do when it comes to Aaron Glenn, when it comes to Darren Muji. I love the draft, right? I love some of the trades we have made even since training camp. Juwan Briggs, Harrison Phillips, the Mechie and Mitchell deals, the Brownlee deal, right? I think adding young talent has been good. I like the way Aaron Glenn is kind of galvanizing the team, coaching us up, trying to limit the mistakes, trying to have accountability. I like that. And we know the answer on Justin Fields. And the answer is, quite frankly, no. Now, one would say, oh, give him some time. You know, he wants to be, we got to, get a full look at him, see the tape. But I think it is now clear. I mean, look, Fields had 116 yards against the Pats. He's been under 60 yards in 4 of his 9 games, under 120 in 5 of his games. But then Brees Hall and others try to not put it on him, try to be good teammates, right? Brees Hall says, honestly, it was really just us not making plays. I felt like Justin played his tail off today. He put the ball there. We've got to do a better job of making plays for him. Not every ball is going to be perfect. Not every situation is going to be ideal. And yada, yada, yada. Backing him up, right? But then there's some out there in the Jets universe who just, quite frankly, say it for what it is. Not only myself. Check out what Willie Colon, former Jets offensive lineman, had to say. He goes, Aaron Glenn's going to sit up here and talk about how he needs to watch the tape. You don't need to watch anything. Justin Fields is not an NFL quarterback. And here's the thing. Aaron Glenn did say a lot of that, right? He has been saying, like, oh, he's going to evaluate everything, but he did say he needs to look at the tape, right? He wants to protect Justin Fields. He knows that Justin Fields has kind of been his guy. Listen to what Aaron Glenn says. He goes, there are some good things. There are some really good things. I thought he put some balls out there. We've got to make some plays for him. Again, we have to watch the tape, like Cologne said, but I thought there were some good things out there. Now, listen, the Jets are throwing for 139 yards a game. That would be the lowest in the NFL since 2022 in Chicago, where the Bears threw for 130 a game. Who was the quarterback for the Bears in 2022? Yeah, Justin Fields. So that is a consistent thread. And here's the thing. I believe that now, with the Jets obviously not making the playoffs, going for the haul of draft picks, what they need to do is evaluate the rest of the roster. You have heard me say it here on Jets Latest. Specifically, guys like Arian Smith, Mason Taylor, John Mechie, Adonai Mitchell. These are guys that are young pass catchers that could potentially be behind Garrett Wilson in the pecking order moving forward for whoever the quarterback is. And we've got to get a sense of what can they do? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And should they be guys we rely on? And we can't do that without competent quarterback play. And that's why I think we need to make that move. Now, Aaron Glenn has started to talk about it, has started to warm up to it, but I think it's really about the rest of the roster, not putting our defenses in bad positions, right? And seeing what our pass catchers can do, including Adonai Mitchell, who made his Jets debut against the Patriots and honestly didn't really look that great. I mean, he got open. He looks like a big-time wide receiver in times of size, speed, getting open, but he only had one catch for 10 yards. And I will say there were at least 3 other throws that he could have had that he didn't convert. There was officially, I think, 2 drops. And A.D. Mitchell kind of was acknowledging that. Him, after the game against New England, says, if I could point to anything, I would point the finger at myself and say I need to perform better. I just need to be better. But then Aaron Glenn even says, I think he'll tell you that he has to make some of those plays that were thrown to him, and we have to do a better job of getting him open also. Okay, so Adonai Mitchell is a guy who can play on the outside, right? But this has always kind of been the knock on him in terms of his hands. Can he catch the ball? Can he bring it in? Similar to an Arian Smith, right? Similar on some level to a John Mechie. So we got to work on these hands. There were some balls that Fields put out there. The passing game could have looked better. A deep down the left sideline. Another one where he scrambled and put it out to him, and A.D. Mitchell had to turn around and try to make a circus catch where He could have. A great wide receiver would have made that catch in support of a quarterback that has been struggling. So we'll see about that. But like I said, the priority is to see what we have. Can Adonai Mitchell be a wide receiver 2-3? Can John Mechie be a great slot receiver? Can Mason Taylor really be a big time tight end with more targets and more volume from a competent quarterback? The other thing that was really poor against New England that we have to talk about again is the secondary, and specifically Jarvis Brownlee. And Brownlee was kind of talking about it himself, holding himself accountable in the same way that Mitchell was, right? But just to remind everybody, listen, Drake May went 25 of 34, 281 yards and a touchdown Thursday. He completed over 73% of his passes. That's even better than the almost 72% that he was going through all season long, which, by the way, was second best in the NFL already. Jarvis Brownlee did not have a good game. One of our acquisitions, right? He had 3 penalties on him. He allowed 6 catches for 80 yards as the nearest defender. And this is part of the ripple effect of not having Sauce Gardner, right? You know, when you had Sauce, then you had Brandon Stevens on the other side, and Brownlee was playing a little bit more in the slot. Now Brownlee may have to play outside a little bit more, where he might, to be honest, maybe getting exposed that some of those great PFF coverage numbers over the last month or so, maybe they were a little fugazi. Maybe they were a function of, having Sauce there as well, and getting the second or third best kind of coverage assignment instead of the tougher assignments that he may now have. But Brownlee, again, was in fact accountable. He goes, not up to our standard. To me, if you get 3 penalties as a defensive back, that's effing terrible. All the miscommunication out there, guys not on the same page, ain't got nothing to do with the coaching staff. It's the guys on the field. And I like that. Again, accountability, talking about the coaching staff is doing their thing, right? We got to get that S right. We can't come to the game and just go out there and out the other ear or forget to pre-communicate, things like that. So, he did have a poor game, and they did get a little bit thin. Remember, Quantez Stiggers went down. A.Z. Thomas had the concussion, so I want to see Michael Carter is also gone via trade, right? So I want to see if, in fact, Stevens and Brownlee, and with A.Z. Thomas in there, what do we have in the secondary as well? And that's the key here. What do we have? That's what we need to know. What do we have in the secondary? What do we have in pass catching? That's why we may hear the name Tyrod Taylor a lot this week. Let's see what Jets' latest regulars have to say. Harlan Abraham, 77-72, says, Fields would do better if his receivers actually catch the ball. Some of Fields' runs were designed runs. Others, no one seemed open, and so he created space. Fields was the leading rusher. Only Mechie seemed to have sure hands. Jets couldn't get turnovers. No interceptions this season. Bad penalties at time. It's true. Mechie did seem to have sure hands. That's why we brought in Josh Reynolds, if you remember. That kind of sure-handedness. Garrett Wilson, the sure-handedness. And you can kind of see the difference if you have a different kind of wide receiver who's impressive. Size, speed, able to get open, but lacks that sure-handedness, does have some drops. So that's what we have to look for to see who is part of the puzzle moving forward. Zakir Hussein, 55-22, says, Fields' passing game would be terrible if his receivers keep dropping passes left and right. If Fields was playing on New England, he'd look like an all-pro with that cast. And if Drake May was on the Jets, he would look like Fields or even worse. I don't know if it's that far, right? Because honestly, the Pats receiving core, Mac Hollins was a castaway from Buffalo. You know what I mean? Pop Douglas has been a journeyman in this league. I'll give you Stephon Diggs as a, kind of a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver, but we have Garrett Wilson as a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver. So I think Drake May has been playing really well, and Justin Fields, it's not only here, it's the tape in Chicago, it's what they made the move in Pittsburgh. I think the jury, has come in with a verdict on Justin Fields. And then Pete Santiago says, we suck when we have to marvel at the punter's stats. Listen, I try to give light to all 3 phases. The Jets special teams is really one of the best, if not the best in the NFL. When we talk about the returners in Nwanu and Williams, Folk hasn't missed a kick. We talk about, and I like to talk about McNamara, especially with the brand of football that Aaron Glenn wants to play in terms of defense, field position, time of possession, right? That ability to kind of be a field position weapon, both in the return game and punting the ball, is kind of important, but I get you. If we're 8-2, if we're 8-3, we're not all of a sudden talking about, look at the special teams, right? We're talking about the offense and defense and what they're doing to get us to that record. So I get that, but we're looking at the long game, and we're looking everywhere here on Jets Latest. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. Remember, also, if you want to hear more from me, maybe your fantasy team is doing better than the Jets are, you can check me out as the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM, Channel 87, help you win your leagues and win that cash. I'm out here everywhere on a network called Sports Grid, doing live betting shows, football shows, if you want to become a better sports bettor. But it's all good. If you want to just keep it locked here for the green and white, like I say, watch these videos, like these videos, subscribe to the channel. It really helps. I appreciate it. Comment. I love engaging with you people. You can also engage with me on social media at Spittin' Speeds, and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. We'll be back all this week against a big-time game against the Baltimore Ravens. It does not get any easier, and we will see who will be under center for that game. I think that is going to be the critical conversation that we discuss all week. And my position is, unfortunately, it's time to make the move to be able to evaluate the rest of the team. We know the answer on Fields, unfortunately. All right, that'll do it for here. Come on back tomorrow. It'll be another great episode of Jets Latest. But for now, we out of here. Peace.